And now let's turn to Myles for our chart of the day.
All right, well, let's go back in time to Friday, talk about the jobs report. I was not here, so now we're going to dig into the data. This is a chart that stood out to me. It is a theme we have talked about before. That is rising participation in the labor force. We're looking at the chart here. Blue line, labor force participation among prime age workers. These are folks aged 25, 54, peak earning years, peak family formation years, peak consumption years. That's a very important barometer for the economy overall. And then overall labor force participation continues to tick a little bit higher. It really bottomed out for almost a 5-year period, and we're back at levels we last saw in 2013 when participation was on the way down. And I think the dynamic we're looking at in the labor market right now is a very interesting one, especially under the lens of inflation. Last week we highlighted the ECI number. Wages are going up. Now, that might lead you to believe inflationary pressures are going to increase, but what I think we're also seeing is that as wages come up, and we've seen wages really accelerate for folks in the lowest rungs of the earnings, kind of decile breakdown. I think as we see wages come up, people are being drawn into the labor force. So we're not seeing that inflationary impulse where people are necessarily going to spend all of that money. It's more that as people get bigger wages, bigger raises, folks are incentivized to rejoin the labor force. And we know there are millions of people who are not counted as part of the labor force because they're not actively looking for work. And so look at the overall repairing of the labor market, which I think this data suggests there is a long way to go for this labor market to come all the way back. The more we see participation increasing, the more I think the Fed is incentivized, frankly, to just kind of be patient, just kind of wait, because you are not at the end of the cycle if you continue to draw labor out of kind of disenfranchisement, basically.
Yeah, and that's supposed to lead to wage growth, which is supposed to lead to inflation. Hasn't so much yet, but I mean, if that keeps going to the top right like that, it's gotta impact that.
Well, you would say it does, and I guess it does, but right now we're looking at, 82.5%, 82.8% participation among prime age workers. It's been 88 in the past, right? So there's still a pretty big gap between where we've been as an economy and where we are right now. And so I think, again, it does back up. Last week I was out here trashing Jay Powell. I think this kind of backs up, his caution right now.
You're looking for slack. Look there.
Here's Slack. Direct listing in this
But not
chart.
the listing.
Not the
other kind of
right,
Slack.
yeah.
Myles, great chart. Andy Serber, thanks so much for joining us today.